According to the definition of the Vedic scholars, whosoever misinterpreted the Vedic doctrines for their own selfish interest were to be identified as devils, demons, and antisocial elements. It is the intentional and fraudulent misinterpretation of the Gospels of the Holy Vedas that many types of superstition and baseless thoughts and ideas have overloaded the people's mind with imaginary pictures and stories, having no relevance in today's society. Apprehending that the social order would break down because of such indiscipline and insolence, the propagators of the Vedic system of social rules and regulations worked out certain remedial measures. Those were then delivered to the people at large through house-to-house visits. For the purpose of continuing education, different types of idols and images of benevolent gods and goddesses were created, both by clay modeling as well as by stone carving on the rocky hillsides. That was the way to spread the message of any imminent calamity approaching the community and a timely warning for the defensive work by the people. The all too benevolent spirit behind the idols and images would provide courage and strength and shower blessings for their victory. Such useful systems were prevalent during the days of the Vedas to liberate the society from the clutches of the monstrous exploitative class. The people were urged and called upon to shout curses against all such mischief makers. The Vedic benefactors would give 3 signals at 3 stages of the crises approaching the society as a powerful challenge at 3 consecutive stages. At first, to warn the people of the approaching attack or any real calamity so that they might make adequate preparations to face the challenge. The second stage of the signal was for direct repulsive hit on the attacking mischief makers and demonic aggressors. The combat between the 2 parties, holy and unholy, pure and vulgar, divine and devil, would continue until the fighting would end in the victory of the side that was pure and honest and divine. Then the third signal would sound the end of the fight, proclaiming the defeat of the culprit and victory of the nobler team. So drop your arms, go back to the society, and put things to peace, order, and discipline, and help rejuvenation of the struggling society. I wish all our members, devotees, and supporters, one and all, stand up and face the challenge posed by the evil elements and take up arms against them. These elements will only be eliminated in no time. We have some practical experience of such situations where the evil elements had to suffer complete defeat at the hands of the adherents to the principles of truth and justice. The Vedic scholars and seers were well aware of the possibility of the eventual emergence of the mischief makers and kept the people ever attentive by the message of warning and caution against the possible danger to the community to be engineered by the ill-motivated and antisocial elements. The Vedic command was that everyone in the community should remain prepared for any eventuality of sudden attack by the satanic elements and conspirators. Whoever came in the way of misadventure and tried to rob your foodstuff and other essential goods, you had to raise your hands and apply the weapons and cut them to size. Apply force to stop the propagators trying to spread falsehood and superstition. Don't have any mercy for the exploiters who are always running after money by squeezing the common people. Punish them and drive them away from the field or throw them into the ground below. Do you think those cunning people will be sitting idle abandoning all their devilish activity for a real change of their heart? No, they will begin conspiring among themselves, form groups of their own. In the name of the holy Vedas, they recommended and prescribed religious rituals and penance, and such other acts of atonement for their past misdeeds in any earlier birth, which they might not remember now. They were required to make offerings and rituals for their future well-being. These were recommended in the form of sermons to be followed by the new generation of indoctrinated devotees. On the contrary, we find the Vedic lessons and sermons for different types of ceremonials were based on the realities of life, with the objective of man's moral development and self-confidence. Obsequious rites, including offerings to the priest, valuables like cattle, plots of land, and beddings, etc., had the significance of good animal husbandry, the maintenance of grazing grounds, and such other activities for the welfare of the community. These were planned on the model of the unbound free service rendered by the phenomena of nature, like the sun, the wind, the oceanic water, the cloud, the sky, and the like, who have been rendering enormous service for the sustenance of this worldly life, also created by nature. The Vedic lessons were formulated and multiple rituals were instituted mainly on that model for the purpose of self-development of one's own self and the society. That would be the ideal way of honoring the Lord of creation. As such, whatever the Vedas recommended for mankind was very strong science and realities pertaining to social well-being. The self-centered satanic groups converted these ideal formula of life and living preached by the Vedas to perverted editions for satisfying their own ulterior motives. Gradually, such groups multiplied and spread their ground for prey and adopted various types of magic and jugglery to confuse and exploit the common people. In this way, the self-interested satanic groups set up endless units of commercial ventures, camouflaged as religious pilgrimage. That is how they built up temples, hermitages, and asylum for their abbots. Such developments were detrimental to the society, and the well-versed Vedic scholars and sages got alarmed and gave an advance signal of a very bad time for the society, inauspicious, impregnated with the evils of social disorder and discipline. So, these guardians of the society recommended to the people to prepare themselves to fight against all the antisocial mischief makers functioning under the pretense of religious gurus. They had to be restrained and controlled and resisted by the people, preferably by group counseling and even by arms and weapons, if necessary. There are endless instances of fighting to control the evil elements to save the society from their grip. Such instances are recorded in our past history, which the present generation must follow for their own safety and security. You may now find a good many number of persons or groups claiming to be divine incarnations, but they are no more than mere promoters and provocators of uncivil mischief mongers, instead of discharging their hallowed task of protecting and helping the virtuous sections of the society. Now is the time for you to get up and take upon yourself the duty and responsibility to instill the spirit of holy work as enunciated by the holy Vedas from time immemorial. You must not stop until that goal is reached and victory achieved. The Vedic directive and injunctions coming down to us from very long ago, and they are equally important in the situation that we live in today. How do you feel? Living in heaven or hell? Everything seems to have gone astray. You should now declare a crusade in the same way as the holy Vedas would have liked us to do. You all have to initiate the same avowed revolutionary spirit as it would have been done during the Vedic period. You are all the blessed devotees of the Vedas. You who are all known as the Santans must now appear in your invincible style, ignore all misgivings and shallow calls of intimidation, and then shout in one voice, "For victory for us all." This must be the intent and call, to come forward in a strong bond of unity, not confined to our own country, but to all our Santans, devotees and disciples spread out in the entire world. Start your assigned tasks and duties as called for by the Vedas. Don't pay any heed to the conceited talk of politics and religiosity, which deserves simply to be thrown away as rubbish. I'm not talking of politics. Rather, I would work for creating an awareness among the people, for motivating them to engage themselves for the deliverance of the society from the clutches of the evil elements, following the way as asserted by the Vedas. I feel deeply concerned about the dangerous poison being injected into the body politic. Your duty should be to cleanse the society of the dirt. You should also use surgical knives and other weapons to conduct operations to make the society free of the badly affected limbs. Unless and until the society is completely cured of the septic wounds, you must continue your fight for reform, remedy, and rescue. We are now in a situation surrounded by fire on all sides. Fire inside the house and outside. The fire of hunger in the belly. The fire of distress in our hearts. Should we now behave as silent spectators and go on playing the violin? Some people would even go to the habitual way, wearing fancy dress, and join some dance party. It is too shameful for me to tell you about these nasty things. We claim to be human beings, but we act like the inferior species. For instance, wild animals, who are more earnest in their united effort for facing the danger from the side of other attacking animals. But we are lacking in that. No food, no clothing, no education, no shelter. Even the transport facility is going to be closed down on us. Besides, the market price of the commodities is abnormally high, but the pity is that nobody utters a word of protest. This sort of behavior from them is beyond any reason and rhyme, and I feel almost dumbfounded. I feel as if we are marching towards the grave every moment, and we are destined to die. The fast developing situation is a clear signal of death for us. That is the alarming message. If death is certain, then what is it to be afraid of? Why should we seek remedial measures for our own survival? We have the good inheritance of the Vedas. We are born with their blessings. So you must not be afraid. Our role today should be to prepare ourselves with courage and truth, and at the same time arouse the same spirit in others by blowing the warning conch shell. If we fail in this momentous duty, it is better that we embrace death. That is what the Upanishadic scriptures taught us. Arise and acquire all that is due to you.